Yo, what is happening? So you want to learn how to boost or pop jumps? Popping jumps comes down to three things. It's timing, technique, and commitment. Commitment, timing, and technique are super important when it comes to popping jumps. Here's the other thing. Popping jumps can be super dangerous. So know that going into this. So we're gonna start super small today. It's gonna be a two-part video. We'll start with the small jumps today, and then we'll go to the bigger stuff. In most cases, you can learn quicker when you start slower. So start slow, learn the basics. So know what you're saying. You're saying, why do I need to pop little jumps, Josh? Little jumps are easy to clear. Well, that may be true if you have the speed, but so many of you rely on just speed to clear things. And that's a terrible habit. And little jumps are the perfect place to really slow down and see how slow you can go to still clear it. And what that does is it really forces you to learn your technique. The cool thing is, when you can clear small jumps with nothing but technique, even if you got a pop, you have 100% control of that jump. And you take that 100% control to bigger jumps and bigger jumps and bigger jumps. And you have tools that then you can dial back if you need to. Also, some takeoffs are super short and super steep. And what popping a jump will help you do is it'll help you match the arc that you need to take so that you don't get bucked, so that you follow the steepness of the transition. Now let's get after it. Here we go, first one, popped. Yeah. No pedaling, no pumping. Pop. Pop. And pop. Now, if you ask the bros who are doing party laps for the boys, they're gonna tell you to bunny hop the lip. They're gonna say, oh mate, bunny hop the lip, mate. Or they might say, oh, bunny hop the lip. Now, while that's sort of true, it's also sort of wrong, and that sort of is enough to get you seriously injured. For purposes of this video, don't be triggered by the use of the word bunny hop versus J-hop. Not this. So let's do a small bunny hop. One more time for a good measure. So see how even on those small bunny hops, my weight went down and pretty far back, which means I really threw a lot of weight on my back wheel. The reason being is I wanted to use my bike as a lever. And with the lever of my bike in my hips, I create kind of a popping action. But the one thing you don't have to do necessarily on a jump when you pop a jump is shift your hips as far back. Don't get me wrong, you can. But just know that it's super dangerous if you don't have the skills yet. Why? Because it puts you in prime territory to get bucked. If you don't commit, if your timing is off and your technique is off. And when you pop a buck, it's lights out, man. You might as well just commit to the front flip. So now on a jump, what you want to do, because your bike is already tipped back to a certain extent, is you don't necessarily have to throw so much weight on your back wheel and really manipulate your bike as a lever to that extreme. You simply shift a portion of your weight to your rear wheel. So on flat ground, it's going to look something more like this. So I still get down.
So check this out. So both of these images represent the exact point where I would begin to extend upward. Now the image on the left is how far back I would typically go on most jumps if I wanted to pop or boost the jump. The image on the right is how far back I would go if I wanted to bunny hop.
So you can see I still do some of the bunny hop motion, but it's not that full aggressive commitment to the down and back and aggressive up and forward. Down, slightly back, and then more of an aggressive up and forward. So if you can't do those little baby bunny hops, if this were a choose your own adventure, you'd see the end right now. Go back to page 23, something like that. So practice that. You can practice that doing bump jumps. I posted a video a couple months ago on how to bump jump. Go check that. That is super important for technique. Now let's take this little, we're not even gonna call it a bunny hop. What we're gonna do is we're gonna call it the hip hump. No, not the hip hump. We'll call it the lever. Let's take the lever and we're gonna take it to some small little jumps. So check this out. We have very small little doubles, which aren't uncommon in trail systems like this. Locals build them, whatever, and they're not always built optimally, and they're not always, in the best position. Makes them absolutely fun to ride. It doesn't mean you can't ride them or they're not mountain bike jumps. For instance, this little double here, it's a 10-footer maybe, goes into a pump roller and then into a berm. So if you hit this with speed, okay, then you got to deal with that pump roller and the berm. You're going to be on the brakes more than you really need to be. But if you know how to boost it, you know the lever action, then you can easily clear this with the speed that's optimal for this next section here, and you don't have to brake. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit this with just speed, and then I'm going to pop it. Hit it with a little bit more controlled speed so I can really go into that turn and not heavily brake.
Okay, so let's check this out. Let's break down this version of the jump. And this version is where I did not boost, I did not pop. So while I'm primarily relying on speed here, this is a complete legit way to hit a jump because I remained in control. I controlled the transition and I controlled the arc, and here's how. So without popping, there's no popping involved here. I came in and my primary goal was to have strong legs. So you can see through here as I enter the small transition, which is, a little bit longer than just half a bike length, maybe just under a bike length. I come in and my focus right here is having strong legs and staying forward on the bike. I don't want to let this change in trajectory here cause me to sink into the bike. So my legs are strong and my shoulders are forward. And I continue those strong legs the whole way until my rear wheel leaves the transition. I don't sink into the bike whatsoever. Now what I do is I start to drop my shoulders down a little bit. And the reason why I do that is because I know that I have to set my arc to meet the landing here. So my speed might not be perfect. It's very hard to have perfect speed. So what I have to do to control my arc is use my upper body, my torso, my body mass to control that arc so it drives me into the landing. And that's what I do here. Come off of it, and I guide the bike with my shoulders and I stay forward. So I've controlled the transition and I've controlled the arc with my shoulders. I don't absorb the lip and I don't sink down and scoot back. I'm still in control. I'm not riding the bike. The bike is coming where I am going. Now let's take a look at the main difference when I want to pop or boost the jump. And here is the onset of the compression. So what I do is I dive down into this beginning of the transition because it's a short transition. So I need to get my body mass low so that I can extend and pop upward. And what it'll allow me to do is use the lever action in my hips to really help me manipulate this lip in a way that really will boost my trajectory, my momentum, my mass in a higher arc. And that's what it does there. And again, I'm really driving with my upper body and my shoulders forward to really finish off that arc strong and in control. So let's look at it again. I'll break it down frame by frame. So I sink down into my bike so I can stand up. Now I don't go all that far backward. I just shift back slightly to put a little bit of weight on my rear wheel. The rear wheel is going to be the last point of contact with this transition. So I want to make sure that my weight is enough on the rear wheel so that when I push into this transition to pop it, to manipulate it, to really utilize it, that all of that weight, that force goes into my rear wheel. So I put a little bit of weight on it and then I pop upward and I drive upward. So what it is it's commitment in the legs, which transitions to commitment in the hips. Hips come forward a little bit, and then that transitions into commitment into the upper body and shoulders. Now, when you're trying this on small jumps, timing is going to be your biggest challenge, followed by commitment. So you're asking, why would you want to pop a jump like this when I had a very successful jump without popping it? Well, there are times when you get these small little jumps and you just don't have the speed for them. I'll show you that here in a second. Also, there are times where the speed that you need to clear this without any type of input will put you at a point where you have way too much speed after the landing. In addition, if you are coming up to a jump like this and you're just going way too slow, now this one is relatively safe because it's a small double, but if it's not safe and you need to make sure that you clear it and you just did not have the speed, having the ability to pop the transition can be a lifesaver. Now here we go, let's take a look at them side by side. So the left one would be the version where I did not pop and the right one would be the version where I did pop, okay? Now there was a slight movement in the camera, which is why this shot is sitting a little bit lower. Shame on me. But you can see here, as I enter the transition, I'm much lower when I want to pop the transition than I am when I just want to hold strong legs and ride off of the transition. Here I shift back a little bit slightly. You see how my shoulders are, and my back is straight, but my shoulders and my hips are a little further back. Here my shoulders are more forward. The reason being is I don't want to shift back if I'm not going to pop, because that'll put me in a perfect position to get bucked. So I stay forward. I don't absorb it, okay? I stay forward and maintain strong legs. Now over here, what I do is I stand up and I'm using my hips, the strength in my hips and my legs to really use that love action, that lever action to really push into the transition. And you can see how it completely changed my trajectory here on the right versus on the left. So here my arc is already almost complete. I'm leveling out my arc, it's plateaued. Here my arc is just starting and I'm controlling it now. It's transitioned from my legs with compression. Now it's in my hips, strength in my hips and my core, hips, hips, hips. And now I'm coming forward and it's transitioning into my shoulders. Now let's go check out one where it's just not possible to clear with speed.
Here we go, little rollers with a big gap. Okay, so I don't know if you can see with the lighting, but here's the one roller, here's where you start the takeoff, and the landing is right where my fingertip is, right where that bright sunny spot is, right there, okay? Now it doesn't look like much, and most people would just ride over this and pump it, but this is a great learning opportunity because it's relatively safe, even if you case it. What we're gonna do is we're gonna boost. We're gonna pop this little first roller and we're gonna clear this. And if you're riding with friends or if you're riding with the normal crew and they're not used to seeing you do that stuff, you're gonna look like a tremendous hero. All right, let's take it from the chest. Running is super terrible, overgrown, loose. We got a really flat, sharp turn here. It's over 90 degrees. And we got to get up over that. Then we got to drop. And we're right into a turn.
So let's take a look at this little jump here. It's not too dissimilar from the last one I showed you earlier in the video. So I dive into the transition to get low so that I have the ability to extend upward and match a high arc. Here's where I'm pushing into that transition and I'm extending upward, strong legs, strong hips. Now the hips are gonna come forward a little bit right here. And the shoulders come forward because really what I wanna do is I wanna drive this arc with my upper body at this point. Notice a couple things here. I never really pull up on the bars. It's a gentle rowing motion, okay? So it's a rowing motion back. And as my shoulders come forward, it's a natural motion as my back end comes up that they row forward. So I don't call it pulling on the bars. I call it more like a give and a take. So I take and then I give. And I'm looking forward to where I'm going to land. The challenge with this one is this lands right into a turn. So if I had any more speed to clear this, it would make it for a very challenging landing should I clear it. I don't think this is one that anybody could clear with speed alone. I think without any input, nobody is clearing this one. One other thing to note that's not specific to boosting jumps is when you land, you always want to look forward, okay? And you want to plan for what comes next, because just because you clear a jump doesn't mean you're out of the woods quite yet. You're not really out of the woods until your foot's down on the ground and you're stopped. So I'm looking ahead, I'm looking into the turn, and I'm letting my body mass drive into that turn for the traction that I need.
Yes, these jumps are small, whoa, but just a reminder that we're working on small jumps first and then we'll take to the big jumps. 50 miles away, All right, so if you have questions about popping, of course you can ask me in the comments below, but I also offer a Patreon service where I will review your video footage, respond with video footage of my own, and give you direct feedback. Some people learn just fine with virtual help, so find me on there. Happy to help.